Hi guys, it's Ariel from Fix My Books, and today we are going to talk about the top 10 mistakes Shopify store owners make. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so number one is the Shopify store is set up incorrectly. So you have to make sure that you set up your Shopify store correctly, or it will affect all the metrics that the Shopify store produces, meaning when you go into your Shopify store and you look at the analytics section, it will be wrong if your Shopify store is set up wrong, right? Because the analytics is only as good as the data that you put into it. Second, you have to ensure that the type of products and vendors are correctly entered. And this is very important. I have had a client who entered all the products under the same type. And so when we are doing the analytics, we can't actually know which products are selling because it looks like all the same product in the store, even though it's different products. And third, the reason why the product types are so important, and the vendors as well, is because the product types become income types in your accounting system. And the vendor is important per product. Let's say you have two sets of mugs, right? Mug A is from vendor A and mug B is from vendor B. Even though they look like the same mugs to your clients, they are different. And with this, if your store is set up correctly, you can track from the same type of mug, vendor A seems to have a lot more returns. Why is that? There must be some quality issues with vendor A. So not only will that help you identify why your products are being returned, but exactly which vendor's products are being returned. And that gives you additional negotiating power when you go back to your vendor and say, on average, my mugs only get like 5% returns, but mugs from you, I get 15% returns. So you're going to give me a discount on my next order because I get so many returns from you, or I'm not going to buy, products from you anymore. You can say that to your suppliers. You can ask for more credits, more discounts, maybe a longer payment term. This is very important because it helps you negotiate and puts you from a position of strength because you know exactly what's happening instead of just asking for a discount because you feel like, or maybe you think like, you have concrete evidence to show them why you deserve the discount or why you are negotiating this way, right? Next, the wrong calculation of metrics. So incorrectly calculating your cost of goods sold, thinking that you are going to make a profit, but then you actually may be losing money. So the second with this is also incorrectly calculating your sales price. So there will be an in-depth video regarding the sales price in a little bit. We're still making it. We're making a lot of videos. So if you want to know how to calculate your sales price correctly, wait for that video. Okay, third is that this all leads into how much profit you will make. So people think that they are making money because they look at Shopify and they see the gross profit and they're like, oh yeah, I made money because my gross profit is this. No, right? After your gross profit, you still have all the other operating expenses to take into account. So if you don't take that into account when you are calculating your sales price, then you may actually be losing money on every single sale that you make. I know that it sounds crazy that you're having sales, but you're losing money, but it's very, very possible depending on how you position your store, how much you're charging for your products, how much you're paying for your products. So it's very easily corrected, but if you don't know that you're even making that mistake, then you don't even know what's going on with your business. Next is not watching your ad spend. Okay, so let me just say this right here. Ad spend does not equal sales or profit. Just because you spend on ads doesn't mean that you are going to get people to your store buying your products. They may click on the ad, but they might not buy anything. So you have to make sure you check your conversion rates Just because, again, someone goes into your store doesn't mean they buy your products. You have to make sure that, how much money are you losing if people are just clicking on your ads 10 times and not buying anything, right? Next, not all types of ad spend are equal. Again, you have to check which ads convert to paying customers. I have done, an exercise in this recently where one of my clients, their Shopify store was not doing as well as they would like. And we went in depth with their analytics team and found out that, hey, Google ads are actually working much, much better than Instagram or Facebook ads. And most of the bulk of their ad spend were actually on Facebook ads, not Google ads. And after we found that out, a lot of their ad spend went into Google ads instead of Facebook ads. So those are some of the things you really need to watch out, especially when you're starting out and you don't have that much cash reserves to burn on ad spend. Next is scattershot ads, no A/B testing. That means okay, so we know that the Google ads are the ones that are converting people into customers and buying things in your store. But which Google ad? Right? You may have 3 or 4 ads running and you can't pinpoint which one is actually converting your customers. So you have to make sure that when you are setting up your Shopify store, you set up your analytics correctly so that you have all this data that you actually need to make better decisions to make your store more profitable. Next, store analytics are incorrectly set up. So again, about the ad spend, you cannot track where your customers come from. Like what I said, there are some stores, they know that they're running ads. They don't know which ads are converting. They can't track their customers. Are they coming from, Facebook ads? Are they coming from Google ads? They have no idea. So this is why it's very important to set up your analytics correctly. Number 2, not tracking what customers do on your website, right? What's your bounce rate? What pages did your customers linger on? Did they abandon their cart? Why did they abandon their cart? Some of these things you need better tracking on, especially if someone already puts the item in their cart, the reason might be is the shipping is too high. When they were checking out, they're like, nope, don't want to pay that much in shipping, but the item is already in their cart. So those are some of the things that you need to know. Third, another thing that you guys might know or might not know is that because of the privacy laws that Apple recently rolled out, it's very difficult now to track where customers are coming from or if they're even receptive to your ads. So this changed recently. It's not going to be as easy as it was 5 years ago to do all these types of analytics. So you just have to make sure that your store is set up correctly. You're trying the best you can and you're not just blindly, spending money on ads, not knowing how they're converting. Next is relying too heavily on ads. So I've seen this time and time again where people set up their Shopify store and they think that, if I run ads, that's it, then I'll get customers. Not necessarily, right? And also think about what will happen once you stop spending on ads. So there are other ways to drive customers to your website that don't cost as much as ads, like email marketing. So email marketing, once you get their email address, you can start sending them offers on their email, start, advertising through there or marketing through there, which is a lot cheaper than just constantly running ads. Second, you have to make sure that you're building a loyal customer base instead of just relying on your ad spend. So if you have to continually run ads to get sales, have you actually acquired a customer? A customer is someone that you maybe put an ad out, they like your store and they keep coming back, they repeat. But if you have to spend on ads to get them to come back in your store, is that actually a customer? Next, I've seen this time and again. Once the ads stop working or they're not getting as many sales as they used to, they're either going to spend more on ads, business owners spend more on ads, or they will start discounting their products, which will only eat into, obviously, your profit margins. So it's really not a good idea to rely very heavily on ads, especially if you're just starting out, because again, you don't have that much capital to burn, right? To just burn on ads, you're not even sure if they're going to convert into sales. Next, you have to make sure that you research your competitors. So much of this comes down to strategic planning and market positioning. You don't want to be selling a lower quality product at comparatively higher prices. So, meaning you need to know where you sit in the market. So are you a more affordable type of brand or store? Are you mid-range? Are you more premium? You have to know where you are in the market. Generally, a generic product means that you have low pricing power, meaning if you're selling, let's say, a pen on Amazon, you have to be competitive with everyone else who's selling a pen on Amazon. So if everyone else is selling a pen for $1, you can't be selling your pens at $10, right? If it's generic. If it's a differentiated product, let's say instead of a ballpoint pen, you have a friction pen, which, if you're not familiar, friction pens are a special kind of pen that you can erase. So if you have a differentiated product like a friction pen, then yes, you have high pricing power. But if your product is generic, then you're going to have lower pricing power. Next, you should do a SWOT, blue ocean, and competitive advantage analysis. So this way, you'll better understand your competitors and your own market position. I'm not going to talk about what a SWOT analysis is or how to do one or what a blue ocean analysis is and all of that. Those have been repeated time and again online. So just go on YouTube, search SWOT analysis, blue ocean analysis, competitive analysis, and then just look at the templates, follow the templates, try to make one so you understand your position better in the market. Next, not knowing how to price your products. This is not, how to price it in the market. Where am I? Am I mid-range? No, literally just numbers. Like, how much do I sell my product for? So you need good data / metrics for this. So if you don't even know what your cost of goods sold are, how much is the shipping per item, you can't even get to this point. So again, your data is only as good as what you put in, garbage out. So you have to make sure that you track all of these very closely. So this, you'll see in number 2, is a very, very basic calculation of how much, you should price your item based on your cost of goods sold, how much it was to ship the item to here, how much profit you want, right? So you can see this is very basic. We will do an in-depth video on how to do this. We'll upload it soon, but we're going to do an in-depth video on how to do this along with, duties and taxes, overhead, other things like that will factor into this, like customer acquisition cost. If you have a Shopify store, another thing that you have to think about when you're deciding what your sales price is your customer acquisition cost. Again, related to ad spend earlier. If you don't know how much you're spending on ads to acquire each customer, then you won't have that data to plug into here for the sales price that you need. Everything flows through each other. That's how accounting works. That's how business works. So if you have bad data from the start, you won't get to that point that you need to get to because you're basically running blind. Next, style over substance. So business owners are often very focused on the facade, on how their store looks like, right? Like the user design and things like that. They're very focused on that, on how nice their Shopify store looks like. But they don't focus on the back end. They don't focus on analytics or setting up their Shopify store correctly, like what I mentioned earlier. And that's a big mistake. Because it doesn't matter how nice your store looks like if all your analytics are wrong. So an example of this is, look at Amazon. Amazon is not the best looking store, right? Easily, it's not. Like, I could probably find, 1,000 stores online that look better than Amazon. But they set up their website correctly, their store correctly, to remove barriers to purchase. Look at the one-click buy. That is like owned by Amazon, so no other website can use that. And that's what I mean. They remove the barriers instead of like adding to cart, checking out, adding your address, everything. Amazon is one-click buy. And that's why Amazon still sells the most products online, even if their store is not as nice as other stores. Next, assuming that you'll be a millionaire. Okay, so be realistic in your expectations. Do not have the if you build it, they will come mentality. Just because you've built a nice online store doesn't mean that people are just going to flock to your store. Next, the average Shopify store in Canada makes around $79,000 per year. And I got this from Google, so I'm not 100% sure that it's correct, but I've looked at different sources, and I think around like 3 to 5 sources, and they all kind of hover around this amount. So I'm going to just assume that this is true. So again, it makes $79,000 per year. So it's a nice side hustle. It will definitely be good in adding to your income, right? But you're not going to be able to live on this, because I'm assuming that 79,000 is the sales and not the net profit. So the net profit and a good net profit for that amount would be around 20%. So if your net profit is 20%, you're going to end up with around $15,800 net, right? After everything else. So $15,000 a year is great as a side hustle, but you're not going to live on that. So you have to make sure that your expectations are more realistic. Lastly, most businesses take time to build. If you've got a 9-to-5 job, this is a good starting point, right? But it will probably cost you more to set up your store in the beginning than what you're going to make for the next 6 months. I've seen this with a lot of clients where they kind of get disheartened, but at the same time, it does take time to build a business. Like my business, I'm not sure if I've ever shared this with you guys, but for the first how many months of my business, I could not get a single client. It took 217 business proposals to land my first client. 217, guys. Like, I was honestly crying. I wanted to give up after 100 business proposals, but my husband was like, no, just keep going. And I'm like, when do I stop? 200? He's like, no, just keep going. So 217, I landed my first client, and I'm very happy to say my first client is still with me until today. So just be realistic. Know that it's going to take really a lot of work to get where you need to go or where you want to go. So just keep that in mind. Next is not understanding the business environment that you're in. So a lot of the business environment depends on the understanding of macroeconomics as well as catalysts that allow markets to grow and deflate. So if you're thinking of starting a drop shipping business now, you're kind of late to the trade, right? The environment has already changed. Drop shipping was a big thing maybe 4-5 years ago, and it really blew up, and the market became oversaturated through COVID as everyone set up a Shopify store during COVID. So just think about that and what's going to differentiate your store if you're just drop shipping a generic product, right? Lastly, you cannot rely on historic data alone to make forward assumptions. Meaning, for example, during COVID in 2020, everyone got a stimulus check. And what did people do? Most people, Black Friday sale, that's what they spent it on. A lot of people bought things online in 2020 because everyone was required to stay home. And if you are thinking that you are going to get 2020 sales now in 2022, when we're in a different environment altogether, that's not going to be accurate. right? There are no more stimulus checks coming, as far as I know. And we're in a totally different environment. Like gas prices are higher, food prices are higher, and people have less disposable income because they need to pay for those two things, right? Gas or energy and food before they buy products online, which is not as important as those two things. So they're going to prioritize, food and energy before they go, spend on your store online. So keep that in mind. We're in a different environment. So you need to know what you're walking into. So if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you always get notified whenever I upload new videos to my YouTube channel. And once again, this is Arielle from Fix My Books, helping you fix your books.